Here we have a quorum of 3 commissioners. We'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is everyone's favorite item. So I don't think I've ever done an invocation before since I was in office. So maybe it's time, right?
This is your chance.
So let's just go ahead and I'll do the invocation. If it's okay, I will do it in the Navajo language, and we'll just do that. Nihitwa yaashide honeloni ahihat dijeku asananitle not ani altsande nihikeyapi kahotsonede ku sanitlido kun not nejonego dadilni alsojet nidene bekadicha bijendas egi bekadicha do nejeno na anish do akana alu egi dadilni ado sadyat egi kun kaholon dole ado not nejonegi not abetsilegi adadilni lakonin nidene alsojet also go betrayad benashe betrayad dahot etole a hier nitra nin daltin ku yastaholo don jeno hil da ho al ku jeno in haltin ba hier nitzen what I to the zen be hasit ole shitra dien adon ni bijit benachet Jesus Christ additionally. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You did bless all the Belagonas, didn't you?
Oh, of course.
Talk about sheep in there.
Yeah. Always. You guys are important to us, and we have to remember to help each other and be kind. We want to heal as a county, so yeah, and more sheep. Okay, moving on to our next item is conflict of interest disclosure. Commissioners, do we have any conflict?
Nothing.
Nothing from Commissioner Adams?
Nothing here.
Mr. Stubbs. And let me check real quick. No, there's no sheep herder committee here, so I think I'm clear. So yeah, no conflict of interest for me. All right, moving on with our agenda to public comments. Do we
Okay.
have any public comments?
Didn't see anybody signed up in the room for public comments. Is there anybody online wishing to make a public comment? Only have 2 people online. If you're online and want to make a public comment, go ahead and unmute yourself. We'll give you 3 minutes for a public comment. Not seeing anybody unmute themselves, Commissioner. That is your public comment period for today.
All right, that was easy, huh? Okay, moving on to our consent agenda. Looks like we have 8 items, right?
Yeah, so you've got the approval of the January 16th, 2024 Commission Work Meeting minutes. You've got the approval of the January 16th, 2024 Commission Meeting minutes. You have approval of all the funds for January 10th through January 30th, 2024, which is the check registers. You have the approval of the 2024 Basic Emergency Operation Plan. That's an update that we have to do periodically. This is kind of routine business as we update, change the dates, make sure we're current in our business, in our operating plan. Approval of the 2024 Mexican Hat 7-Eleven beer renewal application for resort retailers. You have the approval of the 2024 Sunrise Trading Montezuma Creek Store beer renewal application. Approval of the January small purchase of $10,995 for the Sheriff's Department's CVSA Dell computer, which will help with the background check program. Then you have the approval of the memorandum of understanding with the Utah Attorney General's office for assistance on a first-degree murder case. Now, the reason why this MOU is placed in the consent agenda item is technically the attorney's office gets to appoint and contract with whoever they want. The commissioners don't get a lot of say of selection of attorneys that she goes with. It's really that elected office's responsibility, but we do want to recognize the MOU being executed in the county's behalf. So that today is your consent agenda items.
On that MOU with the Attorney General's office, do we get a courtesy copy as
I'm sorry, what was your question?
the last item with the MOU of from the Attorney General's office? Do we at least have a courtesy copy?
Yeah, it's in the packet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all there. You just don't get a lot of liberty on who the attorney selects in that process, and so
Okay.
that's kind of why it's on the consent agenda. It's just routine business for the attorney's office.
Got it. All right, commissioners. How would you like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Adams to approve.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Stubbs. Are there any other questions? Sorry, I jumped the formalities there. Okay. Any other? No. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 3 in favor. No oppose. Okay, moving on to our recognitions, presentations, and informal items.
So this one here you've got a presentation and recommendation of the board member to the Grand County Water Conservation District. We've got Ben is present. He's the director or agency manager of Grand Water and Sewer Service Agency on our behalf. He does an excellent job out there in that world. Used to be a former county employee. We won't discount or discredit him for that.
And move to the dark side.
So
Grand County.
super big help behind the scenes with all things water and sewer related in Spanish Valley. Take it over, Ben. It's all
Well,
you.
good morning, commissioners. Glad to be here. Mac asked me to come and just kind of give a brief summary of what the Grand County Water Conservancy District is and what we do. It is a subsidiary of Grand Water and Sewer Service Agency. The agency houses a number of different smaller districts. This district was formed in 1971 with the efforts of conserving, developing, and stabilizing supplies of water for domestic irrigation, power, manufacturing, and other beneficial uses as contemplated in the said Water Conservation Act of that time. Initially, it was 4 divisions that had a number in each division representing those divisions, and that was a section of land throughout the valley of Grand County and some into San Juan County. In 1999, it was reorganized and became just 2 divisions. With that, they created a 5-member board from a 7-member board because partly we were having a hard time getting people to apply to be on the board. At that time, they went to the 4 at-large from Grand County and 1 at-large from San Juan County. And the reason for that San Juan County involvement is we do have services over the county line, primarily the Kins Lake irrigation system. And that has been kind of the emphasis of having a representative from San Juan County that is utilizing that irrigation water. We don't offer any other services on that side of the line at this time now that the newly formed San Juan Spanish Valley District is there. That's kind of the summary of where we're at. Previously, we would bring all of the names who had applied to all of the positions in whatever division they were in to both Grand and San Juan County. That was contested. We went to the governor's office, and they told us, well, you haven't done anything wrong by including everybody in all of these, but in reality, only the county for which the division and the seat is held should be forwarding names to the governor's office, where at the governor's office, he makes a recommendation based on your nominations, and then it is later, what do you call it, by the Senate, confirmed in the Senate.
Yep, confirmed.
Typically, they like to have 3 names forwarded. We have had one, our last time we had 5 applicants for 1 seat. This time we have for the San Juan County seat, which is currently held by Brian Backus, who has been in that position for 20 years now. He had 1 file to run against him for that position, that being Lloyd Wilson. I believe you guys have all of the information. We forwarded that on. We have gone through, conducted interviews, met with both individuals. Both were deemed by the interviewing committee to be qualified for across the board. Each offered specific insight into the position. One more farm-based. He does have irrigation water and uses that for a part of his income, and the other for the growth and the promotion of the San Juan Spanish Valley side of our district. So where there are 2 names and the governor's looking for 3, at this time it would be for this commission to, you could rank them if you so chose and submit those to the governor's office. And in fact, when you make a decision, if you want to give me a formal notification, I'm the administrator of that board through their website, and I can just make those recommendations on your behalf. But if you would prefer to have staff here send up those recommendations, feel free to do that as well. Just let me know how you would like to proceed with that. But that's kind of in a nutshell where we're at. And if there's any questions on the board members specifically, I will do my best to answer those.
Commissioners, you heard the options. How would you like to vote? I think the options are just supporting the way it is or prioritizing the candidates.
Yeah, Brian Backus has indicated he'd like to continue
Yes.
serving.
Yes.
This one.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with ranking them, with Brian.
He has the 20 years of experience, you said.
Mhm.
for him.
So is that your motion then, Commissioner?
Sure.
Okay, motion to rank Brian and then Lloyd Wilson.
And I'll support that. Second that.
Second by Commissioner Stubbs. Any other comments, commissioners? Hearing none, go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's 3 in favor.
Okay.
Then I'm good with Benny just making that known to the governor's office.
Okay. Can you give me something formalized
I'll send you
for
an
that?
email on
Okay.
it.
And on a side note as well, since I'm here, my board does want to express their eagerness to work with San Juan County for the development down there to the extent of which we can. We are a service agency. That's what we're based upon. We're not a political body. We're here to serve the people, and however we need to be involved to do that service, never hesitate to ask us for that assistance in your needs as San Juan Spanish Valley grows, and we will do what we can in the power of our board to help with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving to the next item.
I taught Brian Backus in school.
Wow. Doing good then, no wonder.
I know that surprises Mac.
All right, next item. Presentation for the annual Open and Public Meetings Act.
So you've got the Open and Public Meetings Act, Government Records Access Management Act, and then the Conflict of Interest Training. This is an annual required training, and so we try to get it in a commission meeting. And
It
then
has a time limit, doesn't it?
2 hours is what Matt told me.
How long do I have to
No less than 2 hours, he
I
said.
gave you 30 minutes because you will hear this in all of your
This is
boards.
like a grill that's really low heat. It's got to be just grill for 2 hours. You could probably give the training better than I could.
That's serious.
With my eyes closed.
The thou shalt nots.
Yep. Well, I was trying to think of maybe an analogy about this. If you're, not very many people have this luxury, I suppose, but if you have the luxury of on a weekend to just watch all of the football that goes on, that's a good long time, a lot of
I
hours,
cannot imagine somebody
having that much
desire.
time.
That's
So for most of us, what do? We go to ESPN and we get the highlights, and that's what this is today. Not going to be quite as cool as the ESPN highlights, but the idea is to hit the high points, refresh your memory on a few things. So that you have the Open Meetings Act, the Government Records Access and Management Act, which is GRAMA, and then you have the Conflict of Interest. And as these work together, they really make a lot of sense. From the 1,000-foot level, doesn't it make a lot of sense, really? I mean, meetings should be open to the public, and they should be notified when there are meetings, should be able to participate. Government records are government property. The public should have access to those, should know what's going on. And with conflicts of interest, the public wants to know if their elected leaders have a conflict in, decisions that are being made. So transparency, openness, it all sounds great, and it all is important. I thought, yeah,
if you have a conflict of interest, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It just means you need to declare it,
right.
right?
If you couldn't participate as a commissioner or a city council person or, in any of these, government bodies, if you couldn't participate because of a conflict, then you'd have a hard time filling any seats. I mean, in small communities like this, we wear a lot of hats, we do a lot of things, and we have conflicts all the time.
Yep.
So like you said, the important thing is to make it known. And if in your judgment you choose not to participate because the conflict is too close,
You can abstain.
that's wise. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with the Open Meetings Act. The general rule is all meetings are open. There are a few exceptions to all rules, and there are a few exceptions to the open meetings. The substance of the meetings is also supposed to be open. But where it gets a little tricky is, what is a meeting? If I were to ask you all what is a meeting, I'm pretty sure you would be able to rattle it off just great. But I thought I'd look into a few recent cases in our state and see what the courts have said. So the Utah Supreme Court made this statement about what is a meeting. Convening a public body with a quorum for the purpose of discussing or acting upon a matter over which it has jurisdiction or advisory power. So a quorum, 2 of the 3 of you, a meeting where you're going to have discussion or make a decision over a subject that is within your authority, within your statutory authority. And I thought we could be a little creative here and throw a few examples at you, and we can decide if it's a public meeting or not. Mac is a very high-level BYU Cougar Club member. He has a lot of
Oh, thank you.
he has a lot of contact.
Thank you.
He has a lot of sway. He has a lot of sway with Coach Sataki. And Mac decided that the commissioners, also being huge BYU fans, wanted to have just a quick Google meet with Kalani Sataki and wish him a good luck in the next season and ask him about his new quarterback and so forth. So Mac arranged a Google Meet.
Mac face going red.
Yeah.
He's a red one.
And whatever Mac asked, Coach Sataki's all over it. So Mac arranged a Google Meet. You all have a chance to hop on Google and, greet Coach Sataki, ask him about the season, ask him about his new players and so forth, wish him good luck. Is that a meeting? Is that a meeting for purposes of the Open Meeting Act, you think?
No.
Let's go through it. You have a quorum? Yeah, you've got all 3 of you. Are you going to be discussing anything related to subjects within your statutory authority? You only wish, right, that BYU football was within your statutory authority. So it's not within your statutory authority. What about your advisory role? You can give a lot of advice to Coach Sataki, right? But probably,
And many do.
yeah. So it just doesn't fit, does it? Not a meeting.
No.
Let's change it just a little bit. Again, Mac, being the high-level Cougar Club member that he is, he convinces Coach Sataki to entertain the idea of having their, is it the blue and white scrimmage, the spring scrimmage they always have, right here in Monticello at the high school football field. And he wants the commissioners to be able to talk to Coach Sataki and convince him to come down here. You know, be a good thing for the community. Commissioners have arranged with the city to, you know, have some lodging and some activities and so on and so forth. So Mac makes that. All Mac has to do is send a text to Coach Sataki. Coach Sataki responds back and says, "You bet. I'll have a Google Meet. I'll consider that." So you have a Google Meet. The commissioners make their pitch. Coach, if you come down here, the county, everyone will come. It'll be good for the economy. It'll make people aware of who we are down here, what we're doing. We think we can persuade the city to open up, you know, the city for this, and so on and so forth. Is that a meeting? Public meeting? Let's go through it. Quorum? Yes. Are you discussing and making a decision at all about something over which you have control statutorily? Monticello City controls the football field and what goes on, so probably not. What about your advisory role, though? Your influence to offer some incentives, maybe some. That one would, right? So that would probably be a public meeting, in which case you should what?
We should invite
Make notice of it.
Sataki and the Cougar.
There you go. Make notice and make the public aware so they can invite. They can be on the Google Meet with you. And you know, even if it were not a public meeting, something like that, you might want to invite them anyway, just for fun. All right? A couple of scenarios there.
Mac,
Yeah?
you get on the
Get on the horn.
get on the.
Is there any likelihood, Mac, that we can do that?
Well, I could get it.
I know you probably could.
You all remember, I'll just refer to this case because you might remember it. You remember when is it Zinke?
Yeah.
He came and visited, right? So, you know, that was a situation where the subject of that was, I think, the Bears Ears Monument and so forth. Not really something the county had jurisdiction over. But I think the court, as it reviewed all that, said, you know, you had some input on your advisory role there. And that was a little bit of a complicated case, but the concept is you can kind of see the difference. You can kind of see the variations. You know, two of you may meet at Maverick at lunch. Chance meeting that the two of you are together. That's a quorum. But unless you pull each other aside and say, hey, let's continue that conversation we were having down at commission meeting. Here's what I want you to do, you know, potentially you could turn that into a meeting. But the idea is when you're talking about things over which you have statutory authority or influence or advisory role that way, and you have two or more of you together, then that's a meeting. So just kind of something to keep in mind. I think, as Commissioner Adams said, you know, you receive the training on this a lot, so this is just a little reminder. If you do happen to get together, even at a chance meeting, just make sure you don't cross over the line, right? Any questions about meetings? Okay, let's talk about grandma. Grandma is right there with it, right? Grandma's about the record that's created. The Government Records Access and Management Act. So a couple things to remember. Government records are property of the state of Utah. They don't really even belong to us. They are to be available to the public. Government records are to be available to be inspected. Anyone should be able to come in during business hours, inspect the records, or make a copy free of charge. So, very basic concept of whatever the government records are, they should be available. Today we have such technology and such access that, you know, it's really impressive how much the public can be involved in what's going on. They can be online here to this meeting. They can go online and see everything that you're going to discuss, you know, all the minutes. They can, all the subject matter. It's all, I think, you know, you're referring to that MOU. It's all there. So someone that doesn't even live here but has an interest can follow along. It's great. It's great. But there are some exceptions to government records. Let's talk a little bit about a couple of the exceptions. You all remember what some of those are. It might be a record, but the disclosure of it might be or the availability to the public might be subject to an exception. What are some examples of that, if you can think of any? This isn't really meant to be too much of a quiz for you, but so the obvious one, what about your attorney-client, your legal strategy meetings? If you have a legal matter pending or imminent, reasonably imminent, you're allowed to get together in a closed meeting and freely talk and make your decisions, talk with your legal counsel, express your views on this version or that version of, how to proceed. Those things are protected. And so they are a government record, yes, and you'll have them, but they're not subject to the same disclosure as other government records. Other protected records are things like personnel files. It's important that employees of the county and people's personal files and information it's important that those are protected. Another area that's subject to an exclusion is land-related decisions, especially purchasing land. So, you can see the wisdom in that. If the county was of a mind to make a land purchase, they would want to be able to go about their decision-making and their preliminary work without, having that being public knowledge. So things like an appraisal done on a piece of property, so you know value, some of those kind of things they're exempt. Well, let's just again let's try a couple of examples here.
You ready, Mac?
And we'll let Mac off the hook. This time we're going to pick on Commissioner Harvey for just a minute. So Commissioner Harvey he likes to write, and after every commission meeting he goes home and writes in his journal, and he just talks about what a great meeting it was, the decisions they made, and he puts a few of his personal feelings in there, like, I'm sure glad that we ranked so-and-so here and so-and-so here, or I'm sure glad that we hired this contractor, not that one, and that other one was a mean guy, he's always been a mean guy, his personal feelings and so forth. Well, someone makes a grammar request for all the records related to a certain meeting, and the county complies with that request. And someone calls Mac on the phone and says, Mac, just so you know, I happen to know that Commissioner Harvey writes lengthy, memos to himself in his journal about the meetings. And I think in that journal, there's some information that we need. So I want you to get that journal. So tell me, is that journal part of this meeting? Is it subject to grammar?
No.
Does it fall into a protected area? Is it a legal discussion? Is it about personnel? Is it about land purchase?
Well, they say
Any
they
other
can
dispute?
confiscate our phones. So if they can confiscate
Okay.
our phone, isn't that lots of private?
So
things there?
so keep just hold this thought right here for a second. I want to refer to a case to you, a fairly recent case. So in this, I'll just kind of be general, but in this case, you have a legal clinic who is taking on a case against a police department with a city. And the legal clinic is convinced that the police department has it out for certain individuals. They prosecute them and they're very tough on them, and they want to bring a malicious prosecution claim. It's a civil thing, not a criminal thing. And so they have what's called the Utah Rules of Civil Procedure, through which they can submit requests. But what police officers, their internal communications with the attorney's office and the prosecution, that whole concept there, how they work together, how they talk with each other, that's all attorney-client privilege. So the Utah Rules of Civil Procedure are not going to require you to divulge that. But what about grammar? If someone makes a grammar request and they say, in order to prove this malicious prosecution and bring to light what's going on here, we need those internal emails. That's where the information that we know exists, that's where it is. So we've got to have it. We understand that it's part of your attorney-client discussions and so forth, but we've got to have it. We want those personal impressions, those feelings, those statements of bias, so on and so forth, and that's where they are. So how does that work? It clearly fits within an exemption, right? An exempted area. But in grandma, you have this additional possibility out here. And that's where the public interest is so high that it outweighs the statutory purpose of protecting certain records. And I tried to think of an instance where the public's interest was so high it would trump something like this, and I honestly couldn't think of one. But anyway, that was the argument here, is that, hey, no corruption, no malicious, feelings toward individuals are ever going to come to light if we can't get a hold of these records. These personal feelings of these officers, we got to have that. Well, the Utah Supreme Court went through the analysis and talked about, the importance of openness, importance of, law enforcement, having the respect of the community, so on and so forth. You have this competing argument here. But in the end, they said we've got to kind of have a pretty bright line here, where that is when it becomes the person's impressions and their thinking, their strategy, their thought process about how to prosecute a case. That is just off limits. It's just not going to be subject to grandma. So back to your journal. County commissioners, they have their thoughts, don't they, about things? And they might have a conversation with a spouse or someone else about a meeting, and they just let it fly, right? They just let it out and say, this is what I really think about. I wouldn't say that in a meeting, but this is what I really think. Well, your journal is the same thing. Those thoughts and impressions are protected. They're not part of your decision-making process here in the meeting. They're not official government business. They're your thoughts about government business, if that makes sense. Maybe a way to separate them. Now, your phones, when you're texting as a commissioner to another commissioner, or to someone saying, yes, I approve of this, go ahead and do it. You're acting as a commissioner, making a decision in your official capacity. So that phone, that text could be subject to grandma. An email, the same. We've all learned that just an unintentional, using of personal email accounts versus San Juan County email accounts opens up your personal account to some scrutiny because you're doing county business on that account. So the lesson is that you've been trained on is keep your county official business in one lane and keep your personal stuff in another lane. It's okay to have your personal stuff. If you write a memoir after you're all done, all those notes that you had, Jamie, are going to come out in a famous book, right? But until then, they're just yours and nobody has a right to get them. Does that make sense, kind of? Mm-hmm. Okay. Conflict of interest. We've kind of talked about this already. So the general rule is, you're required to disclose, but you're not required to abstain. You're not prevented or prohibited from participating. Each year, I believe, you have an obligation to fill out a conflict of interest information here with the county. And then as you have each meeting, which I was glad to see today, you had that line item, conflict of interest. And you all declared whether you had a conflict as to any of the items on today's agenda. That's the way it should be. And it is a requirement. It's state law that you fill out that form. And you list as best you can what you do, who you donate to, any of these things that might be a conflict. But that form cannot possibly anticipate everything that might come before the committee here. I mean, you just never know. And so you have that disclosure, and then you have your each individual action disclosure or each individual meeting disclosure. And as long as you make the disclosure, you're protected. Again, this goes back to public trust and public perception and your ability to be effective as commissioners. You want the citizens to feel like you're open, honest, and above board. And so it's up to you, number one, to disclose, and it's up to you also to decide whether or not to abstain. Sometimes you own a local business, and the county is going to make a decision that will give you business or not give you business. And it's not that you instigated it or anything like that. In that situation, you disclose your conflict, and probably because it looks better, you just say, I'm going to abstain here. I'm not going to participate because I don't want people to think I'm using my elected office to put money in my pocket, right? That's a common thing that people do. Wouldn't necessarily be required, but that would be a good common sense thing to do. So, conflicts of interest. We just need to be aware of them and disclose them. Okay? Is that a good enough ESPN zone overview?
Best training we've had in 20 years, gents.
That better go in the minutes right there, I think.
No way, we're gonna have to edit out that anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
I have a
that was
question.
even the best part.
I knew that would get Mac. Yeah, question.
So
Commissioner
what are
Stubbs.
the consequences if we refuse to turn things in? Like suppose,
Well,
it's a request from my phone and I don't want to turn it in.
so
Or they come from my computer. What is the
Yeah.
consequences?
as you would extrapolate that process out, eventually there might be a judge give you an order to say, look, even though you don't believe it's subject to this grandma request, it is. I'm ordering you to turn it over within 30 days. And if you don't, then you might get to know the county jail for a day or two.
So grandma is a process. So typically when we get a grandma request, they come into the
I
court
have an
auditor.
ulterior motive for asking the question.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Because the thing is, every training goes, it goes
There's a lot.
contrary to what we have experienced in the county. So I'm trying to figure out at what point we can get off the hook. Because when I go to those training, we've been going to new commission training, they scare you to death.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to not scare you to death, but just keep you
no,
vigilant.
but what I'm saying is, and I take that responsibility serious.
Yeah.
But we have an experience in our county where that didn't happen. So I tried to figure out at what point they just say, well, you don't have to or whatever. So is there, I don't know. So
So it might be that the legal process loses steam because everybody feels like the point's made. We're going to move on. It's not worth going farther. Other times you might say, we've really got to push this to the end, in which case you would go all the way to a court's order to turn over the material.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You might be like a reporter that doesn't want to reveal their source. And they have to spend a few days in jail until the judge finally says, all right, we're done with you.
And you've
Thank
kind
you.
of seen that process as we've gone through this audit. And so the typical process for us that's established is the clerk auditor receives the initial grandma request. If you don't turn over your information, it comes to me on an appeal. If I can't get that information from you, then it goes to the state records committee. And they rule on, okay, whether or not we need to turn over that information. If they rule, yes, Sylvia, you have to give over this information, and you don't, then it can go to district court. But there has to be somebody at that level to then prosecute. So during the audit, that was what we learned, is when we took it and the audit adjutant general, whatever, says, well, we don't feel that we can really prosecute on this because meeting isn't well defined. And so that's where you're seeing the changes to the grandma law this year. Is like, well, it's not defined, so we need to define what a meeting is a little bit better in order to prosecute.
Quorum.
Yeah,
What's
well,
quorum?
and that's where you see Kane County's attorney. He's like, it was against the law all along. Nobody prosecuted it, and so you have to have somebody willing on that end to prosecute. And then, the state felt that it wasn't clearly defined. Now we argue that ad nauseum that no, whatever it was,
Yeah.
and they felt that the law needs to be a little bit better defined because you also have you're also executive branch and legislative branch, so you wear two hats. So you can have a meeting and you can have documents that are administrative in nature because you're executive. And then you get this legislative side of it. And if you choose to not feel that, and reply to the grandma request, there are damages, punitive damages that are in that ordinance, in that code, state code, but it takes an attorney or the attorney general's office to be able to prosecute.
And in this damage created because certain things didn't happen. Like right now we have a bill going through the legislature where all the counties will be required to not talk to each other because you have a quorum. If you have three, you have a quorum.
Mhm.
There's counties, they said, well, we don't have an administrator, so we had to talk. And it's a bill that right now is being monitored because lots of the counties don't like, and it had to do, not with ground, but with the open
Open meetings.
meeting.
Yeah.
And then when you live in a small county, you run into people all the time, and you talk. I mean, you can't
Yep.
run the other direction or whatever. But it is a bill that's right now being pushed, and I think it has opposition, but it's a very determined push that I think is gonna go through. But it's kind of a
It becomes more and more complicated. Yep.
Anyway. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good to be with you.
Thanks, John.
So I can keep that journal after all. Okay, thank you much. Okay, moving on to our business and action items.
Hi, this one here, item number 11 on our agenda. Consideration and approval of the 2024 Wildland Fire Program participating commitment between San Juan County and the Utah Division of Forest Fire and State Lands. We got David Gallegos, Fire Chief.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is just the items that I'm planning on working on for the commitment for the year. Thankfully, the fire warden looked into the back years, and we had $10,000 that we can carry over and $6,000 on preparedness. So all I have to do is come up with $24,000, which we're working on these projects that you see there to meet the commitment for this year. If you have any questions, just ask Mac.
The interesting thing about this is we are charged by the state for fires. And so if there's a fire in San Juan County, we send out our staff, our fire chief and his staff to fight the fires that exist on the state and federal lands. If they're small and minor, then they kind of cost less or a minimal cost. But if they get big, say for example, the Pack Creek fire, well, the county is charged for the Pack Creek fire. And through Dave's efforts and his team, we're able to go through and mitigate some of that cost through our fire preparedness, is our fire mitigation. So his staff will go out and clear brush away from homes or around homes, try to mitigate any potential fire damage as possible. And through that mitigation efforts, we're able to credit it to how much the state charges us for
Like
those fires.
remove a brush. I mean,
Yep.
around the
And
property,
dead trees,
kind
yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Just clean up around their homes. We usually go about 100 feet, and then we can go all the way up to 300 feet away from their homes.
So that mitigation effort goes, it towards this as being able to write some of that off. And that's what this contract is before you today, is that ability through, and you see kind of his projects that he's listed on here as proposed, what they fall under on the category, when he's going to perform those, and then that value for the year. And so that is all the mitigation efforts that go towards those costs that the state charges us. Now, if we have really good years, and this is, they take a snapshot, I believe it's 5-year period, 10-year period,
Mhm.
of how much the fires cost us in general. So if we have a high fire year, which we never like, that costs us more and changes that average amount that we have to mitigate towards. So we like it those years that we have minimal fires, the small lightning strikes that they go out and fight, because it costs us less in the end. But ultimately, when you hear these state mandates, this is one of those state mandates that we get to pay for fires, and this is one of those means that the state's created to help us mitigate that cost.
And it used to be that the state we would just write a check to the state and we would be done, but they came up with this program. It's pretty good. But now they're talking about taking it back and then making the smaller counties like us pay some of it, like half, and then do the rest of it on mitigation. So I don't know what's going to happen with that bill, but we'll keep an eye on it. So, anyways,
Well, I'll just thank you for all you do, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stubbs, second by Commissioner Adams. I don't think there's any other questions, so let's take a vote. All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, commissioners.
Good job.
Thanks, Dave. See you next year.
Three in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Moving on to our next item, number 12.
Okay, consideration and approval of the 2024 San Juan County Senior Center Policy and Procedure Manual. This is Tammy, Director.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's see if you can. You have in front of you our Senior Center Policy and Procedure Manual. This has been brought to you before in a work session in January. It's gone through the attorney's approval process, so now I'm just here seeking commission approval for it. This policy and procedure manual applies to center participants as well as staff. And as discussed in our work session, county personnel policy always supersedes this policy. So if there's things in here like backing vehicles or attendance, county policy always supersedes that.
Is that the one that covers activities?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
it
have
covers
up on
everything.
the screen now. We did add this activity committee
Okay.
portion to, so this is the changes that you had reviewed from the one that you'd reviewed in work session. So we added this this last week. As we've seen out in the community, you know, the cancellation of activities, well, that wasn't correct. We still have the county activities that are still on our calendar to date. But this is a process that allows the nomination or proposal from the centers to suggest activities for that center. And so each center will have an opportunity using this activity committee. This kind of creates the formation of that subcommittee to review those suggestions from active participants in that senior center that can then be recommended to the aging advisory board and designee from our offices. So it creates that kind of the rules behind the activities as well. You know, there's some activities that may require a fee, you know, that we're not free. We can't do things free, even though taxpayers do pay for the center, and that's common. But you can always argue, is it enough or is it not? Right now, our general focus is really on the health and welfare of our seniors, and that's the feeding programs that we offer, and not necessarily an activities center. And so this kind of gives an opportunity for each center to kind of become themselves and propose their own activities that they would like to see. LaSalle, when you look at a LaSalle concept compared to Blanding, they're complete different thought processes and complete different wants and desires for their center. And so this kind of allows a little bit more freedom and flexibility within the centers, and that defines a process that they can use to suggest.
So how are we gonna get the word out, let people know
I
that we've adopted this policy?
And I did talk to Tammy a little bit. I think the part of the activity, that part, and people are, you know, that part that's here on the screen, if we can put in the form of a little brochure that we can hand out. Also, I think it'd be nice to put it maybe in a Facebook page where people can read, you know, the rules. I have read this from cover to cover twice. First as a draft and this, and I think it's really good. It's an update of the 2020 version. This is not something we just made up because. So I like that it kind of shows that there's an upgrade, and we had included some new things that we discovered that was for us to clarify. And it is lots of work. I mean, this stuff, even if you have something already, adding that and subtracting or whatever you did two things. You did this and another that we'll see pretty soon. So I appreciate that. But one recommendation to the question, Commissioner Adam, would be to have this as a little brochure that anybody that want to do activities that they can have that and know the guidelines. And even the seniors can look at it and they can know if it, like to put it on Facebook. I know not all seniors have Facebook. So we have to figure another way to maybe copies at the center that people can.
So we will put the participant copies at the center, and they'll be made available there. We'll also put a link to the document on our webpage and Facebook.
Sounds good.
So we will get the word out.
Okay.
All right, commissioners, ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion to support it and
Approved.
by making those changes, adding those changes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Motion by Commissioner Stubbs,
Okay, I'll second the motion to approve of the Senior Center Policy and Procedures Manual.
all right, second by Commissioner Adams. Only comment I want to make is, I know that the revisions will help organize all of the county senior citizens who are users and members of the seniors citizens out there. Allows them a pathway, it looks like, to ask for different activities that go in front of the aging committee for implementation. So I think this benefits all seniors because now you have an organized and more structured way to get things done and completed. So with that being said, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 3 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Moving
Thank you.
on. Thanks, Tammy.
Thanks, Tammy. Thank you. That was a lot of work working through policies and that. But I think that'll help in general. All right, the next one, we have consideration and approval of the State of Utah HAVA Grant Funding Award for the purchase of DS300 ballot tabulating machines for San Juan County. This is our county clerk, Lyman Duncan.
Yes, the Lieutenant Governor's office has offered us around $6,300 in equipment purchases, and we have to contribute about $700. And it allows us to buy a new ballot tabulating machine. We have 2 DS200s now, and we feed them one ballot at a time. In the last election, one of our DS200s went down, and so we only had one DS200 that we were able to put our ballots in, and gratefully, it was just the municipal elections. But in the presidential and other elections, which receive a lot more ballots being cast and so on, this will allow us to kind of like sheets in a copier. We can put 40 or 50 ballots on this tray, and it will feed one after another rather than we're required to feed one at a time. And so I was very pleased to hear about this from the state. I was somewhat disappointed that the install costs were so high, running about $4,000, and we'll have to take that out of our clerk budget to do that. And I'm going to see if the state will help a little bit, or if we can cut that instead of having 2 people travel here for training and install, just have one person come. Just to show you how far behind the rest of the states already moved on to DS 450s and 650s. And so there were 6 or 7 of us small counties that were all still in the DS 200. So the state wants to move us forward, but they are still good ballot machines, and we will keep one DS 200 and the other will be a trade-in. And so it just seems like a good deal, and I appreciate the state and their efforts to help us out with some equipment. I'd ask for your approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Can I?
Motion by Commissioner Adams to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Stubbs. Commissioner, you had a comment?
Can I ask a question about the machines? You know, we hear lots of things about the machines. And so, can you explain how those machines work?
Okay.
Are they connected to online? I mean, how? No. Okay, so
They're
this
completely
is separate.
independent.
Okay.
Down below, we have what we call our election room, and inside the election room, we have two computers. One computer runs our camera systems that
Observe things.
yes, observe what we're doing in that room and then in the clerk's room, in the front room.
Okay.
And we have to, anytime that we touch a ballot or election information, we have to be in one of those two rooms to do that so
Okay.
that we can be observed. If we go into that small room, we have to go 2 by 2.
Okay.
But as far as we'll go in and we use ES&S election systems, and they will help us create a flash drive, and the election will be on that. We'll take that flash drive and go out to the tabulating machines and put it in and lock it down, and then we'll start to feed ballots in. And when we're done processing, we'll take that stick out and go back in and then put it into the election computer. So, and then we'll match up physical ballots on the computer, tabulating machine, and then a third check will be individuals who checked in with their driver's license on election day or early voting. And so there is a lot of security around it, and
Okay. Thank
we're
you.
not connected to the internet on any of those systems. They're completely standalone.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sure the public may want to hear that. And so I just, in case they ask me, I want to get it from the expert. Thank
I'm
you.
not an expert.
Thank
but
you so much.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions, commissioners? Seeing none, let's all vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 3 in favor. No opposed. Motion carried. Next item.
Okay, item 14, consideration and approval of the Rural Opportunities Grant Contract with the State of Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. We have Elaine, Economic Development and Visitor Service Director.
Good morning, or good
Good
afternoon.
morning.
Good morning, good afternoon.
This contract, we submitted a request for $51,000, which we received from the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity from the Rural Communities Opportunity Grant. And this $51,000 will help offset the cost of the $83,400 for the county housing assessment that we're doing. So I'm really excited that we were granted this funding, and it's really going to help us out a lot. So it's just signing the contract for and approving that we will utilize the funds as they have laid out in this contract, and it's really a benefit. And I can't thank James Dixon and Colette Cox and Mac for helping me to write under duress the application, but we got it done. So, and we'll let the public know that the governor's office supported us with this, and we're getting their logo and all that, and we'll put it on to let the locals know that we did not have to bear the entire cost of this assessment. So I look for your approval of that.
Make a motion to approve the Rural Opportunity Grant Contract from the GOEO office as explained.
All right, motion by Commissioner Adams,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Stubbs. Only comment I have is great teamwork, guys. Appreciate the efforts too. So with that,
Me too. I mean, you just like the everybody bunny. Just keep going and going and going, and I appreciate that.
Well, we had 5 public meetings last week throughout the county, and it was really amazing to hear. We had really good attendance. and we tried to make sure we got the word out. And we actually ended in Monument Valley at the Welcome Center. We had close to, I think, 50 people that came. So it was well worth going through the county. And Points Consulting was here and listened. And they're putting together all of this information. So it was well worth everything we did. So I'm excited.
And I have been with you in Money Valley before talking about housing. And one of the hardest thing is that we can't do very much
Yeah,
for them.
and
Do you know what I mean? As far as-
exactly. And we
so
tried to
have
explain
figure out
that to
ways
them.
We can figure out how we can, talk to
Right.
one of the things I thought about encouraging the chapters to use the money that comes from the Navajo NRF funds. They have money sitting in each of the chapters, and I think like last time we were together, Commissioner Harvey happened to be in the same board. We approved for 7 houses, 1 house per chapter. That'll take 200 years to pull out any housing, but I think even for just a little bit, they start using the money, and we have a good board. I think we will approve things that come before the board. There's 5 of us, and so I think they're anxious for the money to be used, and so, but it's trying to come up with idea how do we give the Navajo Strip on our side the dream of owning their home.
Yeah.
or
And
having
to
a
support them. And
and I don't know how we can, and that's one of the helpless feeling I have.
well, I think that,
representing them, I can't do anything.
yeah,
about it.
the fellow that we have coming, Mick Thornton, who will be joining us hopefully next month, that's his sole focus of working on the housing assessment and then working and talking to each of the chapters. And I think after the meeting in Monument Valley, what I think we need to do is go to the chapter, identify those individuals that have applied for land lease, and understand when they applied, really get the details so we know, okay, it's 30 out of this chapter, 20 out of that chapter, identify that, and then meet with those individuals. I think, too, there's some confusion. They're not really sure. Once they file their application, they have to do a lot of follow-up. What's happening with the application, they've got to pay certain fees and make sure there are certain things done, and they may not all understand that whole process. So we had really great conversation, and I hope that we're going to be able to, I know that some people there I asked about a checklist, like what is the checklist and what is the protocol to go through in order to get your land, and then how do we move forward. So I think this is really going to benefit everyone, us understanding the process, but going to each chapter and understanding what, how many people are looking at, sites, and then determining how do we help them to move through. And then I think after that, then we go to, down to Window Rock and set up meetings and discuss how we can partner, what we can do. And what resources can we provide, because we can't build housing, but how do we help them to make that happen? So, so it was well worth. I have to note that we have had a couple of comments from certain individuals about their concern about the growth within the county, their concerns about lack of water, the fact that increasing the population could bring certain negative situations to the county. But we're so early in this assessment. We have a long way to go, that I think, in order for us to provide quality of life for individuals and then attract people to come and live here so we have workers in the county, that's important.
So we had taxes and income and
exactly. So I think there are a few people that are,
Rural.
they want to keep it rural, but in order for us to grow and help so that the taxes are not on the backs of all the residents, we have to see some growth. So anyway, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this entire
Well,
assessment.
lots of good things happening, and thank you for all you do.
Oh, well, thank you all for being so supportive. So I appreciate that very much.
Sometimes for being a crying shoulder for me too.
All right, any other comments, commissioners? Seeing none, let's all vote in favor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 3 in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Moving on to the next item.
15, we got consideration and approval of the letter of support for Southeastern Utah Association of Local Governments Aviation Project with Utah State University.
Yes, they CERTA, which they're now called, reached out and asked if our commissioners would approve a letter of support. They're applying for funding for this project, which I think could benefit all of us, because it's really, even though it's in Carbon County, it has to do with expanding the aviation mechanics program, which I think is important, because then eventually, who knows, we could attract people, as we expand down here. So I felt comfortable coming and asking that we support them in their effort for this project, and they'll be submitting this letter of approval along with others that they have to help with building and submitting this application so they can help develop a bigger aviation mechanics program. And I think that's wonderful, because it'll trickle down to our county as well.
Yeah.
So,
Great. Commissioners, how would you like to entertain the letter request?
I'll make a motion that we approve the letter. I would like to point out that Southeastern Utah Association of Local Governments has changed their name to CERTA.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we want to start using that moving forward.
I'm glad they did. It's much easier.
I know. It is. I agree.
Motion by Commissioner Adams,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Stubbs. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's 3 in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
This next one is consideration and approval of the letter of support for the San Juan County BDO zone designation. Go ahead, take it away, Eileen.
Well, this was a stretch for me, and I had to really start studying up on the BDO zone and all that it could bring to San Juan County. This is a really good opportunity for San Juan County to be designated a BDO zone. Summit County was just designated that. And I think if we can have 2 counties within Utah, Summit and us, designated, then we really have an opportunity to go out and help attract companies that will come in here and really utilize the products that will be developed from this program. So it's in the early stages, but we have a company, EcoStrat, that is going to be applying for a grant in order to conduct this particular study of our area here in Monticello. And we've reached out to, say, for instance, the sawmills, the local sawmills, Brant Sawmill and Luke Lesner, who has a small operation. CERTA is reaching out to different, whether it's trucking companies, anything that would, anyone or organization or individual business owner that can help us to support this request. So while this is in the early stages, eventually we could be able to we'll be able to benefit from this biomass being produced here, utilizing what's left over from the sawmills and also going into the forests and cleaning up. The end result is going to be really great. So it was a learning curve for me because I'm not sure, about all the wood products, but I did learn quite a bit. So I think this is something, while it is in the early stages, and EcoStrat, once we would receive the designation, they will promote our county as a county that has been designated. And then hopefully with Summit, our county will be able to attract companies from around the country. And I did even ask them about international, and that's a possibility. So I think for sustainability, this is a really good way. It's, again, early stages, but a good way for us to go, kind of looking forward.
Okay. Commissioners, how would you like to move?
I'll look to support it.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stubbs, seconded by Commissioner Adams. Any other comments or
I
questions?
just want to say that when we first moved to the area, we had lots of logging going on in Blue Mountain, where the reservoir, recapture reservoir is. Used to be a big sawmill there. And I like the idea that we had lots of individual sawmill as a small business. And so, our purpose in San Juan County right now is not only working for now, but trying to prepare for the future. And so that's, part of the vision that we have in opening the county for business. But in order to open for business, we had to be prepared, have the foundation, preparing our workforce for the different things that we invited to come. And so that I just like this. And
Well, I think it's an opportunity too for our sawmills to grow, eventually with the production. So when you're talking in terms of pressed board, like all these animal cages, the pellets. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, and it could be that down the road we attract a company to come here, set up, a business here to produce a small production company, but it'll benefit even truckers, like the truck drivers, the loggers. So it'll have a resounding effect, I think, throughout the county. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll be able to get the designation for us.
Very good. Any other questions, comments, commissioners? Seeing none, let's take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 3 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Next item.
Okay, consideration and approval of the Rainbow Sign and Banner Incorporated contract with San Juan County wayfinding signs.
We did the wayfinding study in 2022 and finished that up. And so we have the design and everything for the sign, but this grant that we received from the Utah Office of Tourism EDA ARPA grant will give us $25,000 to produce and Rainbow Signs is the company that is a UDOT approved company through the state, and they can produce the sign, 3 signs, for $22,448.43, which includes the travel time from St. George. So we'll have a nice sign when you come into San Juan County instead of that teeny weeny little sign that currently exists.
I just love the design. It's so beautiful. Colorful.
Yeah, it came out. So now all I have to do is try to find the other hundreds of thousands that I need for the rest of the county signs. But I think this will be great because we'll put these in key locations when you're entering into San Juan County. And the biggest one being leaving Grand and coming into San Juan. So.
That is nice.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, because I wanted a sign like that.
Well, I'm going to have to get your pictures in front of that sign once it's installed.
All right, commissioners, got a request for
I'll make a motion to approve.
motion by Commissioner Adams,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Stubbs. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries.
Okay, this next one is consideration and approval for the letter of support for Searstone Development LLC.
Well, I'm digging deep on all these things. This is for battery development. equipment, which is really, this is going to be great. The company, Searstone, they're out of the Northeast, and I talked to the owner of the company, and they have a project out of Lisbon Valley to produce this graphite for commercial scale, domestic processing of battery materials. So it's exciting to see that we've got these companies that are coming forward to look for these minerals and things that we have here in San Juan County, and we're hopefully working toward not being so reliant on, Russia, China for the minerals to produce these batteries. So if their grant application gets approved, we could see eventually 40 full-time jobs coming to San Juan County. So I think it's an opportunity again for us to support this type of effort out there. And the gentleman who purchased the company, I guess it's been through several different owners, but now the fact that they've identified that this particular graphite can be extracted is really going to help to make a difference. So they're applying for a grant application as well from the Department of Energy.
So this is a study grant.
Yeah, he's applying for this to see if they can secure the grant so they can start the process of, I guess, the extraction of and putting it together. I'm not real well versed on how that all works. Maybe Mac is. That's
That's a green graphite plant.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that, and just another thing to hang our hat on here in San Juan County.
So I just want to add, this goes well with some of the things I kind of been working with the Tsunami project. They're doing, they did one grant application. It was a smaller one. And we were able to secure from that $50,000 for the college. So we're in the process of developing curriculum for this, and it'll be for senior and high school from 11 and 12 years old. They're gonna be studying about the rare earth minerals, about all kinds of stuff in this curriculum. And so it's very exciting. And now also UNAMI has another grant that's even bigger, and they have partners like the Inland Port. I mean, the county's part of that. 7 county commissions are part of that, and each one has a component. I think we are kind of contributing. One of the things we're contributing is the housing study. The 7 county coalition is doing the water study, and each one is doing a study part. And this is a lot bigger one. And if this happen, is building up the workforce for the future. And I had the opportunity to be a presentation in the Yellow Cake Caucus. The Carolina sponsor. They had a BYU professor that's in charge of this type of project, and I made the comment that we are trying to do curriculum, and he volunteers his students to come and work with our students here and be mentors, and he was very excited. It's exciting time for us and this is not just now, it's for the future. And I just want to make a comment. I went solo one time to the UNAMI conference and prize. UNAMI conference bring all kinds of resources for scientists, and the scientists and the audience plus commissioner staffs, and I try and figure out what they're talking about. But they're talking about all the amazing things you can do. Like one of the presentations said, please don't burn the coal, because we can make bricks, and they were having all this stuff that these companies are already making. And so it is an exciting time, and I want you to tell at that time, it's the first time in my life I felt like a movie star. People knew I was from San Juan County. They were lining up to talk about how they can come. They are excited to come. They are excited about energy fuel. They're excited about copper mine. They're excited about what we have here. And so I think we are living in a good time to prepare us for the future. And this is part of that.
Yeah, this is just one small thing.
Another one that's coming, an industry that's coming to town that gonna deliver things by drone. If somebody need medicine someplace down south, whatever, I don't know which way south, but they can deliver medicine. They can bring blood if they need blood quick, all kinds of stuff. But they want to have, and we're working with the culture with this and development program on how to repair drones. So we're going to have a component at college on drones. And so there's lots of things that are happening. Possibility a business opening up because us, the high school already have a first class on drones. And so anyway, so there's lots of good things happening.
And that's great if we can get the college and the the schools to understand that we need to provide those curriculums to the students. That's going to be a good foundation for us to move forward.
Yeah, so I'm excited to hear about that one because it's part of what's going on.
All right, commissioners, we need to make an action on the letter request. How would you like to move?
I'll vote to support.
Motion by Commissioner Stubbs to
second.
approve. Second by Commissioner Adams to approve. The only comment I wanted to make was I wonder if this company might be interested in assessing the old El Paso plant down in Montezuma Creek.
Oh, I don't know. I could ask.
They've got the pipe still sticking out of the ground, and they're got a big bonfire
Montezuma
that
Creek?
happens every day. Yeah, every evening. Maybe they could, instead of burning it, convert that into something.
Was there a company, a specific company that owns it? And what is the plant? Is it a...
I know not Resolute, Elk Petroleum currently has a sub office there. So, and I know it's Elk Petroleum's probably their lines still connect to it.
Well, I will talk to the gentleman I spoke to, the owner at Searstone, and ask him if there's a way that he could check into that, because if there is that possibility and they could have two locations for the extraction of that, be better than just maybe having one. So I'll see what I can find out. But it's in Montezuma Creek.
It's in Montezuma Creek. If you ever look at the high school and look across the hill, it's all the remnants are there.
Okay.
And it might solve Elk Petroleum's problems of just flaring.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of turning it around and repurposing it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
well, hey, we can just ask, right?
Yeah, that's
cool.
right. And Tony Dayish is listening in. He might be a good contact to coordinate all of that as well.
Okay.
So.
All right. So I will give him a call too. Well, thank you.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
There's 3 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you so much.
That's really proactive on economic development, and I pray and hope that all
I think
these letters will
Tourism
be
Day on the Hill is this Friday.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We'll be there. And
So
tomorrow
Elaine and her
Allison
staff
will be
up
there.
to
And I'm on the state parks board, so I have a meeting Thursday for state parks, and I'm going to hopefully talk to them about goosenecks and putting some thought and funding into improving and seeing what we can do in that particular area. So, yeah. So
For the Tourism Day on the Hill, that typically starts around noon.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, they have the caucus meeting that they go over all of the bills that
On Thursday from 10 to 12 we
are
had
being
that. So we,
entertained.
is it Thursday?
yeah, Thursday.
Friday.
Is it
It's
Thursday?
Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Okay.
Okay, I'll see if I can make it because the state parks meeting is I think a little bit later.
Okay.
So I'll check into it because I'm leaving to go up tomorrow afternoon. So cool. So I'll see you there Friday. Okay.
So, I've got planning commission that night, so I'll be in.
I'll be sitting.
I'll
on
be
there.
there on Friday.
Okay. All right. We bought lunches for Hankins and Lyman. So we purchased those. And we didn't sponsor anything this year, but we bought lunches for them.
Feeding is better.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for your support. Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Elena.
Not feeding them tofu, are you?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Grass, yeah.
Probably some kind of meat.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Moving on with our agenda, number 19.
All right, we've got consideration and approval of an ordinance granting an electrical utility franchise and general utility easement to Rocky Mountain Power. This is something in continuation of what we've done in the past. This is a 20-year agreement. This was last executed in 2004, and it expires this year, and so they wanted to get it to us for approval. There was some language changes in here that I've added, and so I'll have to get back with them and just kind of renegotiate everything, and as well as it should be ordinance number 3 instead of number 2.
Does it require a public hearing?
No, not on a franchise agreement.
Okay.
What this does is it allows them to bury or install power lines within county easements throughout the county, which is typically along our roads that we have. So this gives them the liberty to install those. The language that I changed on here that we noticed, and I had our road department look at this as well. This subdivision plat notification, in the old language, it had in here that before we finalize and record a final plat, that we send them a notice, and then we can record after that notice has been sent. The new language had it to where the county couldn't finalize or record until Rocky Mountain approved it. So if there's a power distribution that a developer wants to install that needs to connect to Rocky Mountain, they get approval before we do our final plat. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to hold up developers on our end for them to approve. Some developers, when they come in on the subdivision plat, they'll take years before they actually develop. And so instead of that, I put the onerous, instead of on the county to notify, I have it the developer or the owner of the property shall notify Rocky Mountain Power that they're about to go through this process and check with them, instead of holding developers up on our end waiting for Rocky Mountain Power to complete the process. Now, I don't know if there's anywhere in state law that requires that notification first, but I'll work through them. I just felt that it shouldn't be the county's responsibility on a subdivision plat to notify Rocky Mountain Power when we're granting him this opportunity to be in our easements. It shouldn't be extra work on our behalf. And so I changed that language in there so that it's more reflective of how I think it should be. I don't know if they'll go for it. That would be the only change if there was a change in the final contract to that one. But I felt that the developers themselves can work with the Rocky Mountain Power. We shouldn't hold up final recording of subdivision based off of what Rocky Mountain Power says. And so they will need connection no matter what. Let them work within themselves. And so other than that, this is kind of standardized, just newer language to represent the changes in law throughout the years with local agreements that we have with our franchisees. There was another change on here that I added to, and I don't know if they'll go for it. I'm hoping they will. Typically within the Navajo Nation, it's common that NTUA will use their power poles to run internet fiber above head. And in here, they excluded that ability out of the contract. And to me, I felt that, well, if we have a situation where we can't go underground with our utilities, I want to have that flexibility with Rocky Mountain Power that they can also add CAT lines, so the cable TV line or internet lines on there. They had that as an exclusion in the language. So the county, we can run any lines on their poles that benefit the county and serves as a public purpose. So if the county had a line that we needed, a transmission line that we needed to run for public service on behalf of the county, we could use their poles. But they had that exclusion on there for Cat 5 and internet lines. I took that exclusion out, and I'm hoping I can work with them and convince them that allow us to also use Cat 5 and internet, because we in this county deem internet as an essential service. It is a public service. And because of that, I'm hoping I can get Rocky Mountain Power to also allow that to not be excluded, to be included, so that as we develop outside of Empire Electric's footprint on the Rocky Mountain footprint side, that they'll allow their power poles to also be utilized for internet access and internet lines, which typically can come through a Cat 6 line or an internet fiber line to be installed on their power poles as an essential service for the county. And so I'll work with them on those two paragraphs. There may be some minor changes, but overall, in the gist of everything, this is a complete contract for that ordinance.
Can you get them to put in the contract that they won't challenge the assessment of their centrally assessed property
You know,
if they're going to do business in the county?
Yes, so I considered that. Yes, I did. I ordered that, and should fees apply to allowing them to bury their lines in the
Put it
county
in-
easement? So
put
both
it
of
in
those
as a
were considered
footnote.
in my head, but
Put it in as a footnote.
totally. This function of Pacific Core is separate from the oil and gas portion of Pacific Core. I went your same thoughts late at night. I'm like, we gotta add on there that they have to pay their taxes, whatever we say it is. So can't challenge their assessed value. But in here at section 8.6, you kind of see that where I've listed the cat lines and internet as being an essential purpose for the county, and instead of excluding those from it, because it already gives us the right to use the poles for public ways, county wires used in connection with fire alarms, police signal systems, public safety communication, and I felt that internet was just as essential as those.
I'll make a motion with giving you the flexibility to make those changes and negotiate what you can.
Okay, perfect.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Stubbs, second by Commissioner Adams. Any other comments or questions? Hearing
No.
none, all those
I
in
don't have
favor
any.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's 3 in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Next item.
This comes the fun part.
Okay. Item number 7. So you've got, hold on, I might have the wrong staff report. Let me see.
Number 20.
Item 20. So we're consideration and approval of the standard contract agreement with ETJ Law Incorporated for bond counsel services on behalf of the Municipal Building Authority. So this is, to me, I kind of view this prior to the Municipal Building Authority hat. The county exercises the contract, and then from here on out, you'll see more approvals being done under the Municipal Building Authority.
Look like they know us well. Look like they have worked with us, and that's a big plus. We don't have
Yes,
to.
yep. Well, and these guys, so ETJ Law, I don't know if you've seen him. He was up at Cowboy Caucus meeting and introduced himself. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm this guy that's looking at being your bond counsel. So I've met him up there. He's excited for $6,000 to be our bond counsel. I think we budgeted there's like $170,000 for bond counsel services. So for $6,000 is pretty
Well, I
good.
thought it was a good deal.
Pretty good
so-
rate. And so this is the contract. You've already approved the notice of award to him, and we finalized and worked on the contract last week for your approval. And he will, once this is executed, we'll start forming meetings with CIB, the CIB's bond counsel, our bond counsel and the architect that we contract with, and start getting those arrangements for the bond.
I've known Eric for 20 years. He'll
Okay.
do a good
I
job.
know. This is thank to Commissioner Adams.
I make the motion to approve the contract.
Motion by Commissioner Adams,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Stubbs. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's 3 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Moving on to number 21.
Okay, this one here is consideration and approval of the notice of award for San Juan County Public Safety Building Remodel Project Design and Construction Administration Services to AJC Architects. This one, we put out a RFP for these services to be performed with our public safety remodel. We had 2 proposals that we received back from there. We set up a review committee to review those. Commissioner Adams was part of that review committee as well as John Young over at the corrections side of our house, as well as our facilities director, to review the proposals. From that, they selected AJC Architects to be that architect. This will, after we get the contract here next commission meeting, this will start that whole entire project. And so we will be off and running.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Adams,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Stubbs. Any comments, commissioners?
I was excited to see some familiar names. Flannery and Nielsen, 2 of our
Yes. Yep.
boys from San Juan County being involved
Absolutely.
in the engineering part. And by the time I got to this and I was counting the pages I had left, I'm glad you put it last because this is a fun part. I wasn't keeping
Yes.
track of the time or anything. It was so nice. I want to make some comment. Commissioner Adam has a big legacy of many buildings. He lived in us with so many buildings, and I keep thinking, too bad there was 4 years that he couldn't done anything. I wonder what buildings we could have had. But this past week was a week celebration for Commissioner Adam and his wife. Commissioner Adam got a building named after him in Price, in the Price area. I don't know. Anyway, so and that was, I'm sure, special. He didn't know he was getting that, and we got to watch him. They stopped everything that was going on the UAC meeting, and we got to watch that in person, and I mean on camera, and it was just nice to be part of that. I keep thinking he got big shoes that we need to fit in, and the other thing that he was honored, he's an Oscar winner. And I just want to honor him here briefly as we join to approve for this building. I have my buildings, and this building was called the Sylvia Building. Every time people mentioned the Sylvia Building, I knew I was in trouble, so I did not like to hear that. But I'm sure Commissioner is not in that situation. But anyway, I want to congratulate him and thank him for all the effort to make. We have big shoes to fit in, Commissioner Harvey. I don't know. Anyway, but thank you so much. And,
Thank you.
And anyway, did I second already?
Yep, you did.
Okay.
All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's 3 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Next item.
Okay, this next one, let me get to it. Spin through all these pages. We're excited for AJC. They're down here working currently, and so there was some cost savings because they're working on the Monument Valley building for USU. They've got several projects throughout our county, and they definitely, as you can see, they like to use local help as well, with Jones and DeMille being a part of their package. We think that it'll definitely help out the county in general. They know us. Their proposal represented that as well, so that was super cool. Let's see here. So this next one, you've got consideration and approval of a letter of support for the 2024 Utah Department of Transportation grant request to the United States Department of Transportation for trail planning. And so the state of Utah's UDOT is going to be reaching out and applying for this grant on our behalf. We have several trails that we've proposed throughout the county as interconnectedness for our citizens. Part of them down, Commissioner Harvey had us look at there in Montezuma Creek for a potential connection between Bluff and Montezuma Creek, as well as further down south around Monument Valley. And so in continuing that effort comes time for the planning of it and the costing, and establishing costs for those trail networks. So they'd like to apply on our behalf for this entire state study grant that they're seeking. They just like our support for that effort.
Wow. All right, commissioners, how would you like to?
Make a motion to approve the letter of support.
A motion by Commissioner Adams,
And I'll second.
second by Commissioner Stubbs. Any other comments or questions,
I was
Commissioner?
just thinking it's just so nice that we can do something for down south.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm just so excited. I just think, wow, we can do something.
That's really exciting. I
Yeah.
can't wait to share this back down in the communities. All right, all those in favor say aye.
I
Aye. That's 3 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Next item, number
23, were consideration and approval of a memorandum of understanding between Utah State University Preschool Development Grant Activity Number 5 project and San Juan County's Health Department grant.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mac Lyman. I apologize for the staff report here. I was uploading mine and it kept coming back as corrupted. I should have just sent it to you, Mac, to
Okay.
see what it was.
Corrupt.
Turns out the wrong one ended up uploaded. The other attachments are correct, though. If you don't mind, Mac, we could use that.
This one here?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a nice summary here. This is related to a grant that we have with the State Health Department called the Preschool Development Grant. It's not a large grant compared to some of things, but it's actually amplifying its impact through partnership with USU. So we have a 30% match on that. Some of our local public health tax funds are paying for that. That's the $10,000. This is not related to us actually receiving an additional funding, but it's USU has a similar contract. They're providing training, some educational materials that will be adapted culturally to our communities, some evaluation to see how we're doing, to also tailor that, as well as some equipment to help our conference room in the health building have a little bit better sound, because sometimes when you join, it's hard to hear people talking in the room. So it's those categories of things. The particular focus you can see is on our programmings, such as the Parents and Teachers Program, Women, Infants, and Children's, WIC, our developmental screenings, children with special healthcare needs, and then anything else that's serving birth to age 8 children and their families. So, Mac, if you scroll, just trying to summarize some key things. To the budget, for example, it'll just show you what they're paying for.
Outcomes,
Again, I
metrics,
apologize. I had a summary
right here.
that didn't make it. Yeah. So a few things. One is that they plan to hire a couple of community health professionals. The idea here is to have them be a cultural liaison between underserved, underrepresented communities, be it low income, say, it could be working class folks that are just on that border where like, oh, they qualify for WIC, things like that. Could be Latino community, could be some of our Native communities, just trying to build those bridges with our programming and those communities. And then you can see the equipment is that sound equipment to improve our conference room, the curriculum, training, things like that. So these are all goods or services that they're providing to us, and they're just quantifying this in this memorandum of agreement. Any questions about this?
Is this with USU campus and blending? Oh, good.
As well as USU Logan too.
Okay, so
Yeah, it's
Anyway, I was
Dr.
just-
Eduardo Ortiz, who is the main coordinator with us for this.
Okay. I am a fan of early childhood and development, and there's lots of things that you can catch up early by having good
Right.
teams. This even slow development children, sometimes it's just basic catching up early and having people they notice those things are helping those children and they can catch up, with
Exactly.
the rest. And so I'm for this.
Thank you. We are trying to
This is
go
really good.
upstream. Commissioner Harvey, for example, we just had a systems of care meeting where we were talking about pockets of violence among the youth. And we want to move upstream to that, say when they're younger, how can we empower those families to really learn those skills that will help down the road so kids can be successful.
It creates a resilience in
Right.
children, even if they have a hard life or hard situation.
Right.
They see other role models. They see other people, other situation, and even for the parents. Sometimes the parents Sometimes we only had two tools: a hammer and a screwdriver. But sometimes parents need more tools than that to help.
Right.
And so, I think for them, just seeing somebody that cares for them, someday, when life gets hard, you look back at that person that influenced you, and they can navigate life and be able to have dream because they had a vision through books or other things. So I think the money invested in early childhood can prevent spending money later on in life.
Right. When it
And
gets
people
really
feeling like when they were not nurtured. Because sometimes the parents, they have good intention. I never think a parents go to bed thinking how I gonna mess up my kids, But they are carrying their load, they're on the bottom of the pyramid, worrying about what the next meal or whatever is coming, or
survival.
if they have money for the rent, whatever. But I had, worked, like I said, many, many years with children, and you can see the resilience. And children, I knew they had a hard life, but, they're working all over the world, kind of
Exactly.
thing,
there's
And
so much potential in each child,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and
And-
so.
And to have those, the fancy term we use is protective factors. One of those is a trusted adult can help build that
Well,
resilience.
somebody that kind of look at you
Right.
a little bit different, can smile at you or encourage you. Anyway,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you so much. So there's two parts to this. One's the overall memorandum agreement that you're in, and then there's a bailment agreement because of the goods to transfer it to.
Okay, we
the
had
prop-
to separate those out.
Yep, we
two
will.
different
I just wanted to
agreements, so-
mention that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner,
little
I had a
bit-
question.
I worry a little bit about using grant funding to hire
That was my
full-time
question.
personnel. How long, is this going to be ongoing, or is this
This is a
1 year only?
2
or-
years, and this is
2 years.
USU hiring. And I've told them I'd rather have some part-time, a few part-time, so that we can have a mix of people from across our vast county, right? And so they're agreeable to that.
So
And
there'll be USU employees hired under their umbrella,
it is.
and then we would
And it's
just
just partner
We're
with
not
us.
expected to keep that person on after
Okay.
the 2 years.
That was the
Yeah, I
time
actually
limited.
negotiated it that way,
Okay.
just in terms of
Okay.
just concerns about sustainability for us.
Yes,
but for them, they're okay with that, and so
Okay.
it benefits us, and they'll have them working directly with us.
Okay.
So including in the recruitment and hiring process, so that we're part of it. So it's not like, here you go, right? Not just
Yeah.
give us people, but they'll hopefully feel incorporated with our team and our partners. Good question. Yeah, happy to clarify that. Very good question. So yeah, year one and year
Motion
two.
by Commissioner Adams to
I'll
approve.
I'll second
by
it.
Commissioner Stubbs. Any other comments or questions? If not, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's 3 in favor, and then opposed. Motion carries. Final item.
Okay, the second one was consideration and improvement of the Bellman Agreement between Utah State University Preschool Development Grant Activity Number 5 project, which is the continuation of this.
So I am definitely reliant on our county attorneys to double check the legalese here. My understanding is that bailment here is a transfer of the goods in terms of property from USU to us. And there's no financial obligation on our part, but it is those educational materials There's Appendix A too at the end. It lists what those particular goods are. Thank you, Mac. Materials, you can see the communications equipment, and explains the purpose there too. So my understanding is that, well, that's the intent. It's just they're purchasing it, but they're clarifying that they're going to transfer the ownership to us through this bailment agreement. That's the technical term, similar to the term bail, but no relation to jails at this point. So
I did make some modifications to this.
did you? Okay.
They just want to let them know is just on the name San Juan County, and so the
that's a good
contracting
one.
party is just San Juan County, and then
Yeah.
I've listed you. So I went through and changed everything to San Juan County, and then had San Juan County Health
Nice.
Department in there as well. So
Okay, thanks. Good clarifications. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's why we submit these things, right? Double check.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, no, you,
Yep.
yep. Well, we got it.
Good. Good. So
Okay, commissioners, how do we want to move?
I'll move to. So, I am so tired.
yeah, it's a long meeting. I'm at the end.
I'll second Sylvia's motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Stubbs, second by Commissioner Adams. I don't think we
I have a
any
good
questions.
excuse though. Me and Mac have a good excuse.
Oh well.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
There was 1,000 pages for this meeting.
Oh yeah,
And I
that
got-
earlier item, right?
I got 469
I imagine.
pages at midnight,
Yeah,
and so
can't download it.
Oh dear.
well, yeah, I was telling you I can't. It was so big I cannot.
Oh, right.
But anyway, so now I
Big. Yep.
can't stay awake. And
Let's take a vote and we'll finalize it for sure. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's 3 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, Grant.
Thank you all.
Okay, commission
Take care.
reports are next. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner reports. How do you usually handle this, Bruce?
we adjourn.
From bottom down or
It doesn't
no
matter.
particular
Any way
order?
you want to.
I'll make mine's really brief, commissioners, and I'll start. I just wanted to highlight also what Sylvia mentioned about Commissioner Adams, and hopefully this recording will get to San Juan Record and Neil, so that he can write a front page article about our commissioner in regards to the new building with the Southeast Utah. I keep forgetting
You're great with that,
regional development, and there's his Oscar as well. Maybe a spread, 2-page spread of Commissioner Adams' Oscar. But just awesome what Commissioner Adams has done and is doing. Great mentor. Second thing I wanted to mention is this week. Actually, Friday, I'm leaving to UAC, the National Association of Counties. Yeah, NACO, National
We
Association
don't
of.
want you to go to see what.
And I'm on the Health and Social Service Committee there. So be there participating with the other states talking about the health initiatives nationwide. I know Medicaid is part of that conversation and emergency services as well. And so that's where I'll be. So I'll be missing out on Friday. And then finally, just a real quick mention about efforts to light up Montezuma Creek. I think I'm trying to get NTUA to provide costs that we can evaluate, because I believe the food bank is going to celebrate the opening down there. A lot of dignitaries coming. It'd sure be nice to have a fancy building and some working lights, and if we can make that happen, that would be pretty awesome. So hopefully, Mac, if you can help me coordinate that, that'd be
Yeah, we'll get back on that.
really cool. That's my reports for now, commissioners. Who would like to go next?
Go ahead.
Well, I think I already talked too much today, but Every Tuesday, I've been traveling to the legislature, and we'll soon that this is over here, we'll just leave and go and hope the weather's good. And it has been a very interesting experience because last year I was a co-pilot. Now I'm the pilot, and I had to find my way through the Capitol. And it has been a really good experience for me. Sometimes I think I'm in this building, I get on the wrong door and on the other building. But it has been a really good experience to be solo because I had to be brave. And what we do, we participate in committees that are trying to look at different bills. I am in the community building type of community development syrup committee, and that's very interesting. We get to contribute our opinion, but it's also nice to hear opinions from other counties. Some things that you never thought before. For instance, I always thought that Utah Valley has lots of money and because they had lots of property. But then in the meeting, somebody brought up the point that, yeah, we have BYU, we have the MTC, we have Utah Valley University, we have church in every block, so we don't collect much taxes. So, it kind of gives you a perspective that we all have our issues. And I feel like I'm making lots of good connections. Mac, one day when he was showing me around, he showed me in this table people sat. So when I was by myself, when I sat there, I'm pretty sure I started talking with people around. And so that is a place where people gather while they're waiting for their next meeting. We meet with the UOC, that's all the county commissioners, and we go through certain bills that we're going to approve and the things that we would support and the ones we want to monitor. There's one bill that's going through that I'll just kind of share. And it's a bill that had to do to trying to help seniors. Okay, let's just take one of the communities here in San Juan County. For instance, I'm familiar with Blanding. Blanding property prices are going really sky high. And so that makes, for somebody that's a retiree, they already paid for the house, make their taxes go really high because you have your neighbor, they bought a house for $500,000, and your house you only paid $30,000 or $40,000. A few years ago, you bought it for that price. And so what is being proposed is that the seniors can be able to work like in the county and get paid minimum wage, and they pay part of their taxes. And we can see the good intention, but all us that we don't have the personnel, some people in our county are doing 3 or 4 jobs, and to be in charge of a group. So I think the last time I heard that bill was being monitored, but it has a strong push because I think the sponsor of the bill has good intention. I mean, people, they're in a set income and you have high taxes. It's a good intention, but then on the other hand, I picture if we have 500 people trying to pay their taxes, then we need to be finding jobs for them. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but that's one bill we have been monitor, and I don't know if Commissioner Harvey had the opportunity to hear that one, but so there are some bills that you get very excited, and then you hear somebody say, but, and then, oh, I never thought that. So it's so good to be in committees where we can learn from each other, and I had a nice little experience, a scary experience for me as I was in one of the committees listening. They were talking about issues from small counties and different things. Somebody knelt down by me and whispered in my ear something about Senator Johnson. But I was interested because they were talking about hospital and facilities and affected by monuments and all this stuff. And so I was very interested. So I gave him my card and I said, text me what you want. And the text said, if I wanted to sit by Senator Johnson asked if you will sit with him on the Senate floor. And I was texting Matt to Senator Johnson. Well, Matt was in a meeting, so I texted my husband. He gave me a whole biography of Senator Johnson, so I was prepared. But the person that asked me to do that said, you cannot, you're going to have a chair, you're going to sit there, you cannot talk, you cannot just do anything. And I had to walk from one building to where the Senate building is, and I didn't have much time because we're celebrating in the Senate and in the House the 101-year celebration of the Commissioner Association. Have been founded 100 years to the very day, to the very place we were there celebrating. And so I'm so shaky. I'm texting my family for prayers and all kinds of help, and I was so shaky. Is my phone up? Am I going to sneeze? I was just thinking. And when we went to enter the Senate floor, the person I got a text message from an intern, Senator Johnson intern. I'll be waiting for you. So I come, and I thought, I see the core building, I see the other building, I don't see the Senate, and I guess it was behind the pillar to the side. Anyway, so she said, I'll find you. Oh, I see you. Do you have a purple backpack? Yeah. So we go. She used her pass thing, and I went to follow her, and the security person came in front of me, stopped me, and she said, and my heart is already beating. I don't want to get in trouble. So she said she's with me. So we went and we waiting. Senator Johnson, it's kind of like a little hall there where people are sitting, and then you go down to the floor. And she pointed to me who Senator Johnson was, and he was visiting with people. And she said, well, wait, he'll come. And something amazing happened. As I look up, on the balcony, what do you call it? It's not the balcony. What do they call the place where people can observe the Senate? The balcony. There's my buddies. All the other Commissioner Adam had the biggest smile, and everybody. And I don't know, something made me look up, and I'm glad I did because it kind of gave me I had a cheering session, I think. I don't know, but it was an amazing feeling. And Senator Johnson kept asking me questions. Where's you from? And I was just trying to behave myself, but he was so friendly. He was an amazing host. I mean, he did a good job. And anyway, I felt a privilege, not for me, but a privilege to represent San Juan County. And I knew when I was there, I was just representing each of the people from San Juan County. And the next day, the Cowboy Caucus, he saw me, he came and talked to me, and he said, I've been talking to our Senator, Hinkie. He said, he told me about you. He said he told me wonderful things about you, how he went and visited San Juan County. He said, I want to go to San Juan County. And I said, come, we'll feed you Navajo tacos. And he said, okay, I'll come. Anyway, so that is just one of those special moments that comes, I never expected or dream about it, but I thought how nice was the two commissioners for San Juan County were in the light that week. And the week before, Commissioner Adam, we both were also because in the Cowboy Caucus, they were showing a video of cutting funds, supporting tourism because some of the funds were being cut. And there was Commissioner Harvey on the video talking about what was important for this. And of course, he had all these buddies in the audience that are just so excited for Commissioner Adams. And then I sit in there trying to balance my breakfast because it's the best breakfast in there that they do. And I look, and there's the UNAMI presentation talking about San Juan County. And I was so excited because I want to stand up and dance around. That's my baby. because I invited them to town. And so it was just kind of nice to see San Juan County. Don't you think it was nice to kind of do that? And so there's lots of good things happening with the county as we go around. And anyway, that's my report.
Awesome. Thank you,
So
Commissioner.
now we need the movie star to talk.
Yeah.
I don't have a big report. I travel up to the legislature and try and have some influence on what's going on up there as far as how it'll affect San Juan County, and I'm really tickled to see the other commissioners there when I'm there, and it was fun to see Sylvia down on the floor of the Senate.
Well-
And we were trying to get her attention and waving.
And I finally saw, and they have. Well, I was just looking down. I think that goes to in life. Sometimes we look too much down and we don't look up. But when I look up, Commissioner Adam had the biggest smile. He didn't have his hat on to make him take his hat off. Anyway, but then as I went, kind of like a camera through all the faces, there were people that had associated one way or another, and it just felt. And then we went with the governor, and he was a former commissioner, so he made us feel like he was one of us, and we got up anyway. So
But I'm gonna travel up today after the meeting and try and meet with other commissioners and with state leaders and see if we can make things happen good for San Juan County. Appreciate Mac. He's always up there and trying to help guide us and
yeah,
keep us in the right place. And
Yep.
that's good.
Get
I
us-
love the Cowboy Caucus. It's one of my favorite meetings.
well,
Always, I won't be able to go to
I-
the Cowboy Caucus this week because my uncle died, Uncle Larry Bailey, and they're having his funeral on this Friday, so I'm going to have to come back Thursday
Well-
afternoon. So
I had to confess of all the things I let Brian do. I let him go to the Caucus breakfast.
he's a
So
cowboy
he
at
just-
heart.
He just behaves and he is just really good. I said, you can do that one. And so he does that because he would love to go to all the things because he is really good at all kinds of issues and so, but he
But I
goes there and enjoy himself.
appreciate all the recognition I've been receiving here lately. It's not why I try to be a county commissioner or why I serve. I don't really do that to get recognition. I try to serve and do what I can to help the county. It's not because of the recognition. The recognition is nice and it's fine and I appreciate it, but it's certainly not why I do what I do. But thank you guys and thank everybody who's been a part of it, and I want you to know it's appreciated. So
Well, that's what makes it nice because we know that you're now.
I'm going out on a high note. I'm not going out defeated.
Well, I'm so glad that me and Commissioner Harvey had the opportunity to work with you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we're just bummed out. We don't have the mentorship for another
well,
couple more
I'm fine. I take my
You're doing
vitamins. I trying to stay away from dementia one step ahead by taking my vitamins. So I don't know. So
Okay, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Adams to adjourn,
second.
second by Commissioner Stubbs.
Oh, man.
All those in favor? say
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Adjourn at 1:15 p.m.
Man, I must have been asleep through the meeting. I don't remember going through this one.
Oscar, the Utah
Did we go
Film
through this
Commission,
one?
we've tried to have input with the legislature.
I read it last night, but I
For
was so
film and
tired.
sending.
I only got 2 hours
And
sleep
I worked on that.
last night,
couple
and
of
I didn't
years
get
and-
in that many.
It was part of
Because
getting
of,
Kevin Costner to come to
seniors.
Utah and film. They gave
And so,
3 Oscars to 3 different
But,
commissioners.
but
and
I'm,
3
you know, I'm
legislators.
okay, so.
This year they had a little presentation. They're heavy, they're
Yeah.
heavy. Things
They
we
were
got
actual
about
Oscars,
about
It's a woman and she.
I don't know. We'll have to put it there. I've got pictures to send to the paper. We missed it. It came out last week, and we were up there Friday.
Yeah.
By the time we get back, we missed the newspaper, and so we'll
And
be
you
sending
know,
it
and
to
that's-
the
It's
newspaper.
basically
Or
the
Cameo.
responsibility of the
Pretty cool.
time now. We used to,
Yeah.
it used to
Way
be.
cool. I mean, it went
Yeah.
from just
And the
pennies
thing
to,
is, even when
shoot,
they
I think they got a $90 million increase in
Yeah.
tax incentives to the film industry, and
They couldn't have-
they wanted to end it this year, so
They have to spend the money to get
to get the film.
tax
Yep.
incentives. So you have to prove they spent money in your county.
And the runabout
Yeah.
with the building.
Yeah. We were one of
Because
the
it's a
lowest
private property,
states
that's
that
the
gave
only
these
one that's-
incentives, yet we want these big productions to come, and
That's
so
my thing. They keep
that was
asking
what
can
was so
we do?
instrumental last year. Is he went to bat. It's like we need
It
it,
is
and
a
so
tough thing because we
it's like I've got
don't,
Kevin on the phone here. He's not going to come unless we give him more money.
no,
But
we
in
don't-
turn, I mean,
I tell them it's another nation.
there are millions and millions of dollars made off
Yeah.
of
Give their
movies.
funds and to go do it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And we
Spend a
can
lot
go
of
to
money.
the
He
front
spent a lot of
field.
money in Grand and San Juan.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah. Yep.
Who is
Yeah.
going to
Huge.
maintain it? You know, we're trying to help. And I am the Summit County Commissioner trying to do something. And one thing about the
was my
reservation, when the
mother's
wind
brother.
blows, it covers the road. You have all that sand and so hot,
Yeah.
and then the flash flood, it's just lots of issues.
He's the end of that generation of Baileys, and so the next generation, I'm the oldest baby.
So much to do. man.
Yeah, and probably sometimes they,
It's crazy,
they have
doesn't it?
sometimes so they see if they get
I think your meeting yesterday was pretty good.
I wish
Oh,
it might be.
yeah.
With the school district.
They have them, all the meetings that they have.
Yeah. Nation needs to do more.
So now they
Yeah.
have
They
to
keep,
address it.
they keep
And so,
their,
kind of make it even hard.
it's just, I mean, CPS should be
I
there
was in
too.
a
Yeah.
They keep making
meeting
these
with Elaine
excuses.
here, and the people,
Yeah.
there were people
See you later.
from there.
The
And I said
and
to
it
them,
is, you know, as you come out and you look at in San Juan County, we're not even reporting numbers.
and
It's like, what in the world?
Yeah,
they said,
It's like, how come they're not getting our reported numbers? It's like, that really helps.
it does.
Commissioner Stubbs,
It's
we
like
now
with the
have
funding.
something we-
So how are you doing?
Yeah, I got it.
Good, us
And
too.
so-
Busy as
and this
ever.
was the second person commander. was
Yeah,
telling me
yeah, it doesn't stop.
And so.
It just
I
keeps
said,
on
"Oh,
going.
the letters," and she said,
Government sometimes makes government though.
"Oh, then I have it."
We try to weed through that.
And so, me and my husband were waiting, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yes,
I
yeah.
was here on a Friday,
Legislature insists.
and then having a meeting in the library.
Yeah.
And so then,
Oh no. 2,000 bills would be a mess. It's like, I don't know why every year we have 1,000 new laws. It just doesn't make sense.
What good are they doing? I look at sometimes even in the city.
Trying to
pass a
get
new law, but
this trash one. Yeah, this one, the trash now it has to be bagged. Like you're gonna bag leaves. I'm like, why? Yeah. It's like, why?
anyway,
Yeah, the
so-
biggest waste, the ones that I always have problem is the park garbage. It always blows everywhere. So it's like, you start first.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I've noticed that when I saw that thing a few months ago.
Yeah, yep.
I just throw them in my lawn clippings.
Yeah.
They just sit there. And I mow my lawn.
Well, and
I
to
mow
me,
my leaves, you know,
down there
brush
at the landfill, we don't care. We don't care if it's bagged. You know, it's biodegradable is better not bagged. And so it's like, why are you bagging it here?